Now, in our Sunday special report, we turn to one of Taiwan's rarest and most endangered professions. Prosthetics makers are highly specialized technicians who work directly with disabled patients to create artificial limbs. These prosthetics are built by hand in a painstaking process that's not taught at any school, and it often requires long hours of travel to remote areas.
Over the years, the ranks of prosthetics makers have dwindled to less than 300, and yet they are more in demand than ever. Follow us as we meet the technicians struggling to keep pace with demand and pass on their trade.
In this factory, sounds of metalworking and moving motors fill the air. This work cannot be done by robotic machinery and instead relies on the manual labor of steel makers.
因为它是右脚，所以我们要从上到下，这边上到下面是下。假如是左脚的话，就变这样子搬，搬法不一样。
A pair of leg braces made here can help a person with physical disabilities walk. From start to finish, one set takes several workdays to fully assemble.
第一个要很舒服，不要有累赘这种感觉。
First, it has to be very comfortable. Only if it doesn't feel cumbersome will it perform its function properly. If the client feels even a little bit uncomfortable, then we need to help them make alterations. We will fix it so that they can feel okay wearing it, which will enable them to go out with it on.
Chen Baoguang, now in his 60s, has been making assistive devices for physically challenged people for over 30 years. The majority of his clients are children with paralysis or problems with their spinal cords.
正常的像比如农民伯伯啦。
Normally with people like veterans who, for example, may suffer from scoliosis, I can make them a body jacket. There's also a young girl with scoliosis I've helped by making her an Osaka Medical College brace.
Making assistive devices is like building a house. The structure must be sound and the design humanistic. Ran Jingsong's devices make use of leather to offset the coldness of the metal parts.
This leather is where the knee goes. Why is it indented in the middle? Because when the knee bends, it will stick out. The knee has to be cushioned. The leather here is softer.
This slow and meticulous work has been Ran's pursuit from his youth into his senior years. Early on, he had studied electronics, but became interested in assistive devices after surgery left him needing to use a device of his own. When it comes to the inconveniences experienced by the physically challenged, Ran can intimately relate.
For my client to come so far is very inconvenient for them. They have this inconvenience, but when I finish for them, they are so happy. They even tell me to visit them at their home when I'm free. It gives me a feeling of success.
When the client is trying on the device, I will really have butterflies in my stomach. When it is okay, they will say, "Thank you, sir. That is the greatest moment."
The factories of the two assistive device manufacturers are inconspicuously located inside the Taipei Veterans General Hospital's Rehabilitation Center. They manufacture and develop assistive devices. They also custom-build prostheses for clients across the country. In the early morning hours on this day, the Pingdong County Assistive Technology Resource Center is bustling with activity. Some rode in on accessibility-modified scooters, others came in on wheelchairs. They have come to meet with a team of medical technicians from the Taipei Veterans General Hospital.
If they want to visit Taipei, that's a bit far for them. So today we are making the rounds so they can come here instead. We have come down here so they don't have to go so far.
脚底都不会痛，自从穿了这个皮鞋后，
很痛啊！那就是鞋子，没有，这次我们再调整一下这样。而且一般人我们是磨在外侧，但是因为脚现在力量的关系，它比较不是那么平均。
This patient's brace does not fit her leg properly, and every step she takes brings her suffering. However, Xu Yue says her search for a new custom brace has turned up quality and prices that don't meet expectations.
因为外面的真的超级贵，没有办法。
The prices out there are exorbitant. They are very inconsistent with our financial situation. Also, there is no guarantee the quality will be better. That's my personal feelings on the matter.
台湾的话是身障人口，毕竟还是没有那么多。
In Taiwan, there aren't really that many people with physical disabilities, and only a small fraction of them are those with prosthesis and leg braces. A lack of available parts means we need to import them, which is expensive. It will be several times the original price.
打落去，安尼也安了。
边仔会疼
边啊，
哦，安尼打咧边仔会
遮这啊。
Custom builders travel out to rural areas to meet disadvantaged patients. It's a chance to interact face-to-face with patients of all different physical conditions. This is important because in this highly complex trade, ensuring a good fit requires more than the physical measurements. It calls for human intuition that reads user response. A device that does not properly fit the patient's legs will cause lesions in the best scenarios and serious pelvic and spinal damage in the worst cases.
早期在巡回的时候遇到蛮多的，就是说他是
Early on, when we started visiting rural areas, we encountered many patients who, perhaps because of the pre-existing assistive devices, were in such pain they couldn't take it anymore.
The Taipei Veterans General Hospital's Rehabilitation Center was established in 1949, prior to which it was the Nanjing Rehabilitation Center. Initially, the center treated war veterans and later expanded to the treatment of all disabled patients. At its height, the center employed over 100 prosthetic technicians. However, over time, they retired one after the other, and today fewer than 40 technicians are employed there. They're in a race against time to pass on their unique skill set.
那其实在延揽专业人才这个部分
Recruiting talented people is actually quite difficult. But in the past few years, we have employed some new people that we've been able to pass the skills on to.
当然有的病人会无理取闹，也有。
Of course, there are some patients who are unreasonable, but we are there to help. If you're utterly unable to communicate with patients, I feel you are just not suitable for the job. Our job is to provide a service to people, so we really need to have patience.
According to statistics from the Prosthetics and Orthotics Society of Taiwan, fewer than 300 people are trained in building prosthetics. This is a specialized study not offered in any school. No colleges or universities across the nation have set up departments or programs for it. Medical school grads who embark on the trade are essentially starting from scratch.
以前学的都是
What we studied before was all related to rehabilitative medicine. Things like prostheses and their structural composition we did learn about, but they didn't have us go and make them. We learned from illustrations, but we could not make them. So after coming here, we shadowed the prosthetic technician. We learned bit by bit until we could do it.
When there are flaws in the build, it's the disabled and the elderly who bear the brunt.
虽然小儿麻痹的
These days, although there are fewer and fewer children with polio who need to wear braces, there are still some who need to use them. So this industry cannot just disappear. It must carry on. If the skills aren't passed on, what can we do?
Whenever prosthesis makers return from their visits to rural areas, they are loaded up with orders from disabled patients filled with hopes of walking again. Yan Mingyan has been making prostheses for nearly 20 years now. For him, the responsibility weighing heavily on his shoulders is to pass on the techniques he learned to his apprentices.
5就好了，不要用到6、5。你这边教够不够？
Making molds and plaster casts, these things are not challenging for Yan. What is hard is seeing others suffer chronic pain. Seeing this makes his work a struggle, he says.
因为心情吗？还是情绪上吗？觉得
Is the problem my mood? I do feel that emotions play a part. Suddenly I feel powerless and I wonder if it's time to retire.
Even so, Yan says he knows there are still many patients counting on him.
我觉得他把病患当作是家属。
I feel he treats patients as if they were his family, and he is very attentive. Actually, he is the only one who gets it. He is the one who best understands what it is that amputees need.
For prosthesis makers, building the device itself is only a part of the job. Much of the hard work is putting themselves in the figurative shoes of their patients and supporting them in a way that's not physical.
有一些病人给你回馈，都说哇，你 Mr. Hope 啊。
There are some patients who give me positive feedback. They call me Mr. Hope. I feel I'm not so worthy of that. I'm just doing my job. Everyone has their job. For us, that job is helping others. So I suppose we're blessed in that way.
Donning medical gowns, these prosthesis makers put their hearts into building assistive devices, doing whatever they can to help ease their patients' suffering and make their lives just a little bit easier.